Hello, everybody. I left you with the definitions of longitudes, and we talked about east and west longitude measured from the prime meridian. Today, we'll talk about D.LONG. It's important to understand these basics of D.LONG, DLAT, departure. So, emphasis are giving here. I know over the period of time, everybody gets masters it, but why not be the first one to catch the bus? So, for the beginners, it's important that you understand what is D.LONG. Now here, I have written it down here. The D-long is a smaller arc, smaller angle or smaller arc of the equator. Now this is important. So always remember the D-long is a smaller angle or arc of the equator. We'll justify this part of it a bit later. Now here we have the Earth with the Greenwich meridian. We have already talked about the longitudes. Now this is a place on the Earth A which has got a meridian passing through it, and the longitude is either angle at the pole or the arc of the equator. And I've taken the value as 100 degrees west, arbitrary value as 100 degrees west. Now, if I take another point B here, this also being west of the meridian is got a longitude of west, and as defined, it is angle at the pole or arc of the equator. And I've taken this value as 50 degrees west because both of them are on the west side of the Greenwich, so longitude should be west. So longitude of A, longitude of B, west. Now both the names of both the longitudes is the same. Difference in longitudes, same names of longitudes, is longitude of A, which I've shown you the arc here and the angle here, minus the longitude of B. So longitude of A minus longitude of B, that is the D-long between A and B. And one is 100, one is 50. So D-long is 50 degrees. 50 degrees of arc or 50 degrees of angle at the poles. So what we saw here that same name latitudes we have subtracted, same name longitudes we have subtracted. So this is a simple way to remember it. Same name, subtract. Now the important thing here for us to know is what is the direction of D-long, because this is going to play an important role once we talk about courses, distances and other things. So we should know which is the direction of my D-long. Now it is always taken from to, from which place to which place you are going. Now from A to B, if you are going, I am going towards east. From B to A, if I am going, I am going towards west. So my D-long would be named accordingly. If I am going from A to B, I am going easterly, my D-long would be easterly. From B to A, it will be westerly. Now the D-long between all the points on these two meridians will remain the same, irrespective of the fact the points are here, 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 anywhere. Though we can see that the distances between the two meridians keeps on gradually reducing as they are approaching the poles, but the D-long between any points on these two meridians will remain the same. And as I said, if you are going from A to B, your D-long is east. Now I'm just taking another example of longitudes on either side of the Greenwich. A is on the west, and as we defined, it is the angle at the poles or the arc of the equator. And I'm taking up the arbitrary value of 100 degrees west. Another point B to the east, and longitude of B is either the angle here or arc of the equator. So I've just taken this value as 50 degrees, 50 degrees. So one longitude is 100 degrees west, another is here. The names of both the longitudes are different. One is on the east, one is on the west. So when you have to find out the D.LONG between both of them, you can notice it yourself that you will be crossing the Greenwich meridian, so it must be added. So D.LONG is the longitude of A plus the longitude of B. Because you are crossing the meridian, you are crossing the Greenwich meridian. If you are starting from 50 degrees, you are coming to 0 and then going to 100, or vice versa. So the D.LONG between these two meridians, east and west, is 150. 150, 150. So when you have longitudes of different names or alternate names, you add. There's a very simple way to remember: same name, subtract, alternate names, add. Always do that, you'll never go wrong. And here again, the same thing about which way you are going to go. So this is important, always remember, from to. If you are starting from A and you're going to B, from A to B, you're going towards east. So D.LONG will be east. If you're going from B to A, it will be west. This is important for you to remember. And as I said, the D.LONG between all of them remains the same. It remains, this is the same, irrespective of it, where the points are. Now D.LONG, I'm just calling the D.LONG also, it's actually a longitude here between Greenwich and this, but considering that this was some other meridian, some other longitude here, this also would be D.LONG between the two meridians. And you can see that the distances, east-west distance, and I'm just talking about east-west distance here. East-west distance is the thing which is running east and west, and equator runs east and west. So east-west distance between them reduces as we approach the pole, because at pole all the meridians meet, and meeting point is where all the intersects will meet. The distance between them will be 0. At equator, we call it the distance, east and west distance, we call it as a D.LONG also. And at the rest of the places, we call it as departure. Of course, at equator, as departure and D.LONG are the same. If I call departure at equator, I won't be wrong. But the only thing you got to understand, departure at equator is also the D.LONG. Now, just viewing the Earth from top, and we know that the Earth looks something like this, with meridians. If you're looking right from top, these being smaller circle and great circles here, with the latitudes and the meridians converging to the pole. But just for understanding, I want to have these lines straight so that we can understand D.LONG and D.LONG better. So I am just going to skip this part of it and try, because this is a topic which we'll be dealing once I get down to uh, Makeda sailing, and that time we'll talk about it, how these lines have been made straight, the longitude and latitudes, because latitudes also circle and the longitudes are converging towards the pole, and this is how they look on the chart, and ultimately the latitudes and longitudes would appear something like this. So for the time being, I'm not bothered about the latitudes part of it. The only thing what I'm interested is in the meridians, and you can see that the meridians are running straight. So just for understanding, I am keeping everything straight. The difference between the longitudes is constant right up. How they have done up, we'll talk about it in Makeda sailing. So now here, if you see, I have got all these meridians running up and the distance between them is constant. So it is easier to understand if this everything is flat. Now we talked about longitude being arc of the equator. So we are not talking about the angles now. And if I said the longitude of B is 135 east, so that is the arc of the equator measured from Greenwich to 135 east, towards the east. Similarly, for longitude 135 west is the arc of the equator between the prime meridian and the meridian passing through this, which I am showing you as a straight line. It is easier to understand D.LAT and D.LONG like this. Now, Let's talk about D.LONG, and I have written down same names. An example here that one is 45 degrees and one 35 degrees. So these two longitudes have come up here, and the D.LONG between them is 90. And you can see that I have put a minus sign here. So you can, same names as we said, subtract 90. And which way you got to name it, east or west, will depend upon from where to where you are going. If you are going from A to B, you are going towards east. From B to A, you are going towards west. This is important for you to remember. Similarly, another example here with the same names here, 45 and 135, and the D.LONG 90, same name, subtract. I have subtracted it, and this is important for you to remember, same name, subtract. And naming from and to. I'm repeating this because this should get into your head. So you're going from C to D, you're going towards west. From D to C, you're going towards east. Same name, subtract. Now another example here for different names of longitudes. So let's have one longitude as 45 degrees east, another 45 degrees west. And the D.LONG is added. As you can see that you're crossing 0. So it has to be added because you start from 45, come to 0, and then again proceed 45. So you add. So different names or alternate names, as I've been telling you, alternate names you add. And the name of D.LONG depends from to. Now another example here for 50 degrees west to 100 degrees east. So you're going from 50 degrees to, you're going from C to D, crossing the prime meridian, should be 150. And the naming has to be as per the direction, from which place to which place you're going. And remember, alternate names or different names is added. Always do that. That is the easiest way to do it. You won't go wrong. Now, I said D.LONG can never be more than 180 because when we started off, we talked about it. It's a smaller angle or smaller arc. So if there are 2 points, one is 50 degrees and one is 60 degrees, 50 and 60, I'm going from A to B. I'm going towards west. Different names add. It comes to 210. And going towards west, D.LONG west. And as we said that it is the smallest arc or smallest angle. So it would make sense if I continued from 50 degrees east, kept on going straight to 180, and 180 is common. So I would do 130 degrees towards east, and then another 20 degrees, another 30 degrees, another 20 degrees east to reach 160 west. So the total D.LONG I will do 150 east. So instead of going 210, I think everybody would prefer to do 150, crossing 150 degrees of longitudes. So this is wrong. So whenever you have a D.LONG more than 180, it should ring a bell in your head that D.LONG can never be more than 180. Now, I'm just trying to show it to you on the angle at the poles. As I said, 150 would be the correct thing and 210 would be wrong. So 210 was going west. West is a clockwise direction always, because this is east, this is west. 90 degrees to north, onto your right hand side is east. So westerly direction is clockwise. If you follow that, you'll be doing 210. But if you went easterly, you'll be doing 150. Smaller angle. Smaller angle is 150. So this would be wrong, and that would be 150 would be correct. Okay. So 130 up to 180, and then 20 degrees more, 150 would be the right choice to make. Now, whenever you have these longitudes which are more than on D.LONG is coming more than 180, different names always add more than 180. Remember, can't be more than 180. Subtract it from 360 and change the direction of the D.LONG. From east I was going west, the D.LONG would be west minus 360, and then I change the direction from west to east. This is the easiest way to remember this. So here I have written it down here to find the D.LONG between two places with different names. Add, give the direction towards which way you're going. If more than 180, subtract 360, change the direction. Simple way to do it. Now I'll just show you a few examples here. Now D.LONG from to. So these are same names. Subtract. Now I'm going from 116 degrees to 90 degrees east. Now this I'm just showing you the scale on top here, which has just come up here. You're going from 116 degrees to 90 degrees. Which way are you heading? West. So your D.LONG would be west. Right? This straight lines I made it so that it is clear to you that 0 increases up to 180, 0, 180 degrees west. Now another example here with the same names. I am going from 156 degrees west to 10 degrees west, 50 to 0. Same name, subtract. Which way I am heading? East. So my D.LONG would be easterly. And that's coming up on top of your screen here. You can see I'm going from 50 degrees, I'm going easterly, so my D.LONG is east. Now these are alternate names. You add. So I'm going from 173 east, I'm coming to 165 degrees west. The D.LONG has to be west. Added, west. But we just talked about it that D.LONG can never be more than 180. So this is what I started from here. I went like this. So it cannot be 180. As soon as it is above 180, I said rings the bell in your head. Subtract it from 360 and change the sign of the D.LONG or change the direction of D.LONG. And now here you can see from west minus 360 I've gone east. So it makes sense for me to be going easterly and coming to that point with a smaller arc. Now 165 degrees west, 172 degrees east. Add, I am coming easterly, but more than 180 minus 360, and change the direction of your D.LONG what you have got here. So this is the easiest way to do it. Always add it up, subtract 360, change the direction. Now these were the D.LONGs what I had calculated, and we know that the degrees are in minutes, so I can convert the D.LONG into minutes, because when we start solving problems, we'll require to maybe convert all of them into minutes. So I've just shown you here 25 into 60 plus 55, so many minutes. 56 into 60 plus 7 minutes. 21 into 60 plus 10 minutes. 21 into 60 plus 34. Of course, I have not written down east-west here. That stays. So this is all. I'll call it off here today. We'll start off with DLAT departure, DLAT, the next latitude, and DLAT next time. Thank you very much for being with me. Till we meet for latitude and difference of latitude. Thank you.